What is up, guys? It's Sky, and today I got something a little different for you. I decided to jump on some Battlefield 3 just the other day and try out the jets, because I haven't really flown in Battlefield in like a year or two, at least not seriously. And Battlefield 1's going to come out later this year, and it's going to feature some jets. In fact, jets are the only aircraft that it's going to feature. And I have a feeling that a lot of the mechanics from the older Battlefield games are going to carry over. And I know pretty much all of you guys are Battlefront players, and a lot of you probably jump into fighters every once in a while. And this video is going to be kind of a crash course on the differences in the flight mechanics in Battlefield versus Battlefront. Now, full disclosure, I started playing first-person shooters in 2011. That's when Modern Warfare 3 and Battlefield 3 came out. And I was a noob back then. I had no idea what I was doing. My KD was like barely a 1 KD. But Battlefield 3 was a game that inspired my love of flying in video games, and I continued on with it to Battlefield 4. The gameplay you see is some conquest on Bandar Desert on Battlefield 3, which I jumped in the other day. And man, I hadn't jumped in a fighter in a year or two, seriously. So flying kind of felt like patting my head and rubbing my stomach at the same time. And in this game I jumped on, there was another guy flying for the Russian side, Denny something or another, and he was pretty good. We got into a couple dogfights. I won 2 and he actually took a couple. But you know, I've been out of the game for a while, so I was more so fighting with the controls more than anything. And you'd think that with more complicated flight mechanics in Battlefield, you know, you have the pitch, roll, and yaw, and you also have speed control. And you would think that it's a lot to think about, and you focus on the controls more so than maneuvers, but really once you get pretty good, the controls become second nature. Now, the gameplay you see is on the PC version of Battlefield 3. I actually flew in both the console and PC versions of both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. And there's a million things you could talk about with the differences between flying mouse and keyboard versus flying controller. And I know a ton of Battlefront players, like on forums and Reddit, have requested for advanced controls, and I guarantee you, most of them have never flown competitively in, say, Battlefield or War Thunder. And I'm not saying advanced controls are a bad idea. I mean, on PC, I'm all for it, because mouse and keyboard and Battlefront on PC is just, I can't do it. But on console, it's not going to work that well. If anything, they have to scrap the Starfighter energy distribution system and take that off of the left analog stick, because you need to put roll on an analog stick, and you don't want the energy distribution system interfering with it. Like in Battlefield 4, you have the default controls that have your speed control, your accelerate and brake on the left analog stick. That's no dice. You gotta change that to veteran mode and put your speed control on your triggers, because when dogfighting at a high level, you have to be really precise with your maneuvering, and you can't do that if you got your speed control interfering with your movement controls. But moving the Starfighter energy distribution system off the left analog stick is going to open up a whole nother can of worms, because you still need your missiles, your lock-on, and your speed boost on the bumpers and triggers. So I'm sorry to say it, but you're not going to see advanced controls in Battlefront. It just doesn't work. But if you like advanced controls and you're pretty good, then you can jump on Battlefield. Now, the thing about Battlefield 3 is that there's only a couple thousand people still playing it. And a lot of them are people that eat, sleep, breathe, and drink Battlefield 3. So if you try to jump on Battlefield 3 and try to fly, then you're probably going to get your head handed to you. And they're going to rub it in, because a lot of good pilots are really cocky. And you know, the PC version of Battlefield has that chat, and when they kill you, you're not going to hear the end of it. Now, Battlefield 4 still has a healthy population of casuals, especially on the console version. Specifically, I play on PS4. So if you want to get your feet wet and try to learn how to fly with advanced controls, then you can probably jump on Battlefield 4 and have a decent time. And that's what it's all about. You know, I'm a casual gamer at heart. I like to do well and win, you know, but not at the cost of having fun. And getting stomped by people that are better than me is not my idea of fun. And I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the footage, but I was dogfighting this guy, Denny something or another, and he was really good. And I interrupted this footage to give you one big tip for flying in Battlefield, and that's the 313. If you look at this first person HUD, it displays your airspeed in the upper left corner in that little box, and right now it reached 313, and I believe that's kilonauts. And That's an extremely important number when flying in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. I know some of you are probably already familiar with it. And this actually has a basis in real life where fighters have an optimal airspeed for their maneuvering. And if you drop too far below it, you're going to stall. And if you exceed it, you're not going to be able to maneuver and also risk breaking your plane from the G-forces. Luckily in Battlefield, your plane's not going to break in half for exceeding the optimal turn speed, but you have to be able to maintain it. And all the while in third-person view, because the third-person view offers that greater perspective and field of view. And Battlefield also accounts for gravity. So if you're climbing, you gotta use your afterburners. If you're descending, then you gotta use your brakes to be able to maintain that turning speed. Dogfighting in real life considers potential energy, where the pilot with the elevation advantage has an advantage because it's much easier to control your speed when descending. So for you guys not really familiar with flying in Battlefield, this video is probably pretty eye-opening for you. And I know a lot of you guys are excited for Battlefield 1 and want to do well, so I'm going to be putting some tip videos together when I get a little better at this. I'm a little rusty right now. And I'm going to link Ghostgaming in the description. He has awesome Battlefield jet tutorial videos. Check him out. Thanks guys. Catch you later.